All right, let's delve into the devastating floods ravaging different communities in Nigeria, focusing especially on Lagos State. While the Lagos State government on Sunday said it had stepped up efforts to clamp down on residents who built structures along drains and floodplains. This was after torrential rainfall on Friday overwhelmed buildings and washed away perimeter fences in different parts of the state, including the new Okwoba community in the Ojokoro Local Council Development Area. A video clip shared also showed many houses overtaken by the flood. And also we see all of these residents talking about how these floods have affected their livelihood. Well, we'll be discussing this further with Dr. Dayo Kayode, who is still right here with us in the studio. Dr. D, thank you for staying with us.
It's my pleasure being here always.
Well, these floods are not happening to us, suddenly. We know that we've always had flood issues in the country. And one would expect that with all of the past experiences we've had, especially in riverine areas in the country, that the federal government and all relevant stakeholders would be better prepared this time around.
I like that word, better prepared. What has been the level of preparedness of different governments at various levels, especially when it comes to environmental protection? We have Federal Environmental Protection Agency. I could remember in those days when we were having one DG there, Evans, I know, that had a problem with the ecological fund being snake swallowing money. You understand? States also should have, but now we are talking about Lagos. We're talking about Lagos. Is this how Lagos is supposed to work? There's supposed to be a master plan, okay, that would have addressed this issue of flooding in Lagos since.
They're now talking about arresting people who built on drainages, and you're wondering, isn't this medicine after death?
There was a time I was on another platform, and we were talking about this kind of a thing. And I may mention the physical planning department in the ministry there. What are they doing? Fortunately, it was a phone program, and some people in Alausa, they were calling in, bombarding me. I said, but there are rules and regulations guiding buildings. There's also what we call standards that are supposed to follow, and all those standards are to be investigated by the physical planning department before approving your building plans. So what have they been doing? There's also what we call building control. Building control department within that particular department. This building control, they are supposed to be moving around, okay, to find out which building is not conforming with the set rules and regulations. Which building is going beyond what has been approved. All right, these are issues that are supposed to have been dealt with, but it's a pity that Lagos State, I don't know, maybe because there's somebody up there who controls everything. Look at that Ikoyi mishap. Look at that. We all read the report. We all knew that there are some backers. They call them Babang Bejo. That guy was confident, was having confidence in. But yes, if I can do this, nothing will happen, because some people takes. Do you understand? Now the question is this. When you look at series of people that have been governing Lagos before now, were they people that had really prepared themselves based on what is operating in Lagos? Are there people who had over time Say, okay, in so year, let's say come 7 years time or come 6 years time, I want to rule Lagos. And what are the things I'm going to put in place to ensure that Lagos works? Okay, that Lagos works. Now, sitting down, following it one after the other, calling professionals to ask questions, calling practitioners to ask questions, calling experienced people to ask questions, towards having a roadmap to a better Lagos.
We've seen several.
No, rather, maybe 2 months or 3 months to primaries. Once somebody saw, we just say, okay, come, you are going to be the next governor of Lagos State. We have been experiencing it. And that is why till today, we're experiencing what we're experiencing in Lagos.
Let's bring this back home now. You know, the state of Lagos is peculiar in terms of, you know, the sea level and all that. Explains why we don't even have subways and tunnels and all of that. But here's the thing. For riverine communities in Lagos, you have, you know, places like your Ikoyi, some places, areas in K2. You talk about those who, you know, live at Ikoyi and all of that. They've now been placed on high alert concerning, you know, the risk of flooding. And we know quite well that the Onyo Dam will be released, you know, and more floods will come this way. Do not forget that the Ogun River, you know, which is meant to also channel water to the ocean, has also been occupied.
Dam in Cameroon too.
Exactly. You look at the right-hand side of your Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, the whole Kara Bridge and all, that's actually the pathway for the Ogun River to channel its, you know, excess water to the ocean. But buildings have taken over. The issue is this. With Lagos, we have 6 prominent drainage systems channeling the, you know, excess water out of the state to the ocean. You talk about Odo Yalaro, you know, the drainage. You have the Ikoyi Creek and all of that. Some of these canals or drainage systems are even blocked to start with. Definitely man-made errors, you know, talking about refuse dumping and all of that. If Lagos State is to deal with the issue of flooding, especially now that it has been put on high alert, you know, by NIMET and all of that, don't you think that by now we should have responses in terms of clearing those proper drainages, the canals? Then 2, how do we address the issue of, you know, these areas within the riverine communities that are extremely vulnerable to flooding?
Bravo, Samson, for all those things you have just said. And while you were talking, my mind went straight to the Netherlands. Yes, to the Netherlands. It's a water place, isn't it? That's why it's being called the Netherlands. I have been there and I have seen how things are working there, because you have people that are well prepared for governance. People that are well prepared for governance. I will show you something this morning, if you will allow me. Do you also know that wealthy Lagos is possible? And when you are talking of wealthy Lagos, it's inclusive of ease of doing business. And when you're talking of ease of doing business, flood control is there. Because in the last 2 days now, people have not been able to go for their businesses. In the areas you mentioned that we were seeing on the television, a lot of businesses have been washed away. I even read that a family lost some of their children. Some lost millions of business activities. Look at all those properties and all that.
And those are story buildings.
Those are story buildings. You can see kind of within a neighborhood there.
Those are story buildings.
I mean, you see that.
Bungalows.
Now listen, when the Lagos is possible, when you're talking of work and environment, when you put them together, and then when you also take into consideration of transparency in governance. Transparency in governance. When you also talk of inclusiveness, all right? When you also talk of responsibility or representation, let me also break those ones down. Straight to local governments. When you are giving local governments their financial autonomy, and now you make them responsible for the money being given to them. Make them responsible, okay, for the money being given to them. Then they will be able to be taking good care of all these drainages, all these canal. It's not that you say the whole Lagos, all the drainages in the whole Lagos will be under, what that is name again, that Igbo guy.
Joe Igbokwe.
Joe Igbokwe. What does Joe Igbokwe know about environment? I mean, look at it now. As Joe Igbokwe being able to solve the flood problem in Lagos State, where is his, listen, where's his office? I was driving through Oshodi on Friday. On Friday, I was coming from Balinde. You know, you have to now come through to be able to go to the airport. Goodness, as good as that, as good as the development there is now, when you are descending, you know, this side to inside the Oshodi, no, okay. The other side of Oshodi, then this other side, then you have this express, you have this other road here. No drainage there. Tell me, no drainage. So how will flood not affect that area? Listen, where I'm going is this. Unfortunately, people are not holding leaders responsible. People don't ask questions when they want to vote, because there is another election coming in Lagos State. What are your plans towards this? Because the moment everywhere is flooded, then it will affect everything. There won't be any wealthy Lagos. Lagos will not work for anybody. There won't be anything.
The clips of flooding where we can see on the screen, that's from Okoba Axis, Agege.
Yes.
Do
you know how many people lost their lives there?
Yes, the Odo-Iyalaro drainage system, that major canal, takes care of the Agege Axis and Yanokwaja and the rest of them. So the question is, if the canals are blocked, the major drainage systems are blocked, the one at Maryland may
Look at that Alba.
The one at Maryland is blocked as well. Why aren't having, major clearance of those waste disposals so that the waters can flow? Because it is water. It would find its way one way or the other.
Listen, not until when we have somebody who is well prepared by himself to rule Lagos, this is what we'll be seeing. People that have been there, they are either carrier of the emperor's wife's bags, or probably a friend to the emperor's daughter, or somebody who had been a kind of follower. Do you understand? It doesn't matter their level of preparedness. All we have been experiencing in Lagos has always been, yes, you go there, go and be the governor, and then you'll be reporting back to me. You go there, we need you to be. Do you understand? But now, what I'm saying is, either anybody likes it or not, Lagos now needs a breath of fresh air, either you like it or not. Else, it will be more devastating.
So let's look at ways out of all of this quagmire. For instance, President Muhammad Buhari gave the Minister of Water Resources, Suleiman Adamu, 90 days to come up with a plan for prevention of this flood disaster. And of course, we know that that would lead to the next elections. And there is the issue of the Third Mainland Bridge water. There was a video recently showing it, rising to very scary levels. And one would wonder, is there so much that government can do? I know all attention is on the federal government, but state government, individuals have responsibility in dealing with this menace.
Listen, the highest of the responsibility as regards flood control should reside with the state governments. 1. 2, the federal government is now supposed to be a kind of supervisory agent on, because the federal government itself supposed to have its own environmental protection master plan, which will cover the whole country. From there, each state is supposed to draw its own plans. But I was appalled when the president was just giving what's his name? The Minister of Water Resources 90 days. 90 days is how many months?
3 months.
How many months is remaining for them? For the past 7 years, you have never done that.
Over 10 years, actually.
I mean, this thing has been a yearly occurrence in Nigeria, other than it has not gotten to this intensity.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So to what extent are few? But I am more disappointed in Lagos State. You know why? Because Lagos State is an aquatic state.
The sea levels
is an aquatic state, of which you are supposed to have, and somebody is telling me that you have master plan that will develop Lagos in 20 years. And what have we seen now? Everything destroyed. You see, it's a pity that sometimes we turn things to be political, but then it has to be, because we are living in a democratic dispensation, and in whichever geospace you are, there is politics, whether military or democratic. Are you with me? The thing is this: Lagos people now have to go out and check who is or who has over the years prepared himself and who is not ready to be taking orders. If I give you a map or a compass, you know it can be faulty. Along the line, you might not be able to read that map because there could be some complexities involved. The compass can be faulty. The reading might not be accurate. What I'm saying is, whoever knows the road is the only person that can lead. Whoever knows the road, who is not going to wait for anybody's compass or anybody's road map, but his own road map,
let's look at how
is the person
to prevent the pending disaster. For instance, that they've issued out warnings that people who live on lowlands should move to higher lands and all of that. But are there enough alternatives? Some people will tell you, you want us to move, you want us to relocate. Where do you want us to go to? And a lot of people are going. A lot of people are going through all of this, challenge. We do not even want to look at what people in IDP camps, in riverine areas and other communities who have been affected by this flood are going through. But focusing on Lagos now, these are people who may have spent all their lives, their livelihoods on these, plains where they are. And we know that there is the issue of the fundamental issue of why did you even situate your house in that region in the first place? But that even resides on the law enforcement, those who should have prevented them from instituting or erecting their structures there. But let's look at alternatives for these people who have been told to relocate.
Number one, every one of them in that physical department in Alausa should be relieved of their posts, of their positions, and then bring in professionals. There are better people out looking for jobs that will be able to do this thing better. That is one. Two, Lagos State should now go back to the drawing board and then come up with a proper master plan that will protect and will ensure good livelihood of the people in terms of ameliorating the hazards of flooding in Lagos State. 3, all the houses, all the structures on waterways that are not having approvals. Mark that. Not having approvals.
Even if they have approvals.
No, I will come to that. Not having approvals should go. Those having approvals, because government.
But where would that leave
listen,
residents? That's the main question here.
Who asked them to go and
So
build
we shouldn't
without...
be concerned about their welfare.
No, listen to me. When you're talking of concern about people's welfare, there are some emergencies that also need drastic actions.
Definitely.
Look at this.
But we should also provide
look at
for
this.
them.
Look at this. As I'm sitting down here, there are rules and regulations guiding what we say, guiding our comportment. If anybody goes outside all those dictates, what happens? The person will be punished. And I say the person should not be punished. Others will do the same. If that person is not punished.
You know, sometimes these people do not really get the responsibility because they got approval.
You didn't let me finish. You didn't let me. There are two. That's why when it was saying those that are having approval, there are two different types. Those that are having approvals must be compensated because government misled them. They were misled by approving it. Then which office approved the building plan? So those people that are being misled by government must be compensated. They must be adequately compensated. But those that doesn't have approval, that were thinking that because they are bigger than their pants, must face the consequences.
The question will be this.
And that's why we have what we call rule of law in that concept of wealthy Lagos is possible.
For a state like Lagos State that has huge housing deficits, if we go about
that's another story entirely.
Exactly, and I'm coming there because we would have to talk about it. If we go about demolishing illegal structures that occupy, drainages and waterways and what have you, or the victims of this flooding, you are telling them to leave, or those at risk, those who are vulnerable, leave lowlands, go to highlands and all of that. Does the government even have like some sort of resettlement area where people can move and relocate temporarily? I know NEMA has at
Let me also put this to you.
Okay.
Which one will you prefer to reduce the vulnerability and then incidences of flooding, or to let it be and then each time you'll be visiting, you'll be going on condolence visits?
I don't have
Which one will you prefer?
I don't have issues.
So it is always better. Listen, it is always better to clear our water. Then when you are now talking about housing deficit, when you are talking about housing deficit, I have had somebody who is well prepared to rule this Lagos and had spoken about how to improve on the housing deficit in Lagos. He was even talking. Listen now, he was even talking about even people living in a place that is closer to your workplace. How do you do that? There's what we call Ibile. That's different divisions in Lagos. Ibile.
Yes.
That's
Ikeja, Badagry,
Ikorodu,
Lekki,
Badagry,
yes, Lagos
Ekpe, and Ikeja area. Do you understand? Building high rises, high-rise buildings there, whereby it will be cheaper for people to live. Or listen, look at the housing units that were being built by Lagos State government that are meant for civil servants who are occupying the place. Go to Abiola Gardens here. Abiola Gardens is supposed to be meant for people working low income earners in Alausa Who are the people who occupy the place?
Again, these are futuristic plans. Which
no, it's not. We have to come from what is existing to be able to solve the problem.
That's fine. I don't have issues against the futuristic plan. What I'm saying is on the present, at present rather, how do we address it? Lagos has housing deficit, quite all right. If Lagos state government is putting residents of Ikoyi, VI, K2, Corridor, and the rest of them at high alerts that they should relocate to the highlands and leave the lowlands because of the risk of flooding and all. My question is, how do they go about it when there are no alternatives in terms of resettlement areas? I said earlier, I know NEMA, that's National Emergency Management Agency, has a resettlement area in Ijegun or Igodo, yes. But Lagos State itself, does it have such provisions?
I said so, listen,
that's my question.
Listen now, Samson. I said something the other time which I want you to go back to and then pick properly.
Okay.
I said, when it comes to environmental protection, it is the work of various states, but they must draw their plan from the federal. Are you with me? And that is why we also have National Emergency Management Agency. And then you also have
LASEMA.
So LASEMA and NEMA, they're supposed to work hand in hand.
Yeah.
The one that NEMA is having in Lagos, is it for the people in Ekiti or for people in Maiduguri? No. It's to take care of people in Lagos. So why is Lagos now not working with NEMA?
The question is
do you understand? To be able to use that resettlement center for Lagos.
But the question is, the resettlement area in Igodo or Ijego rather, you look at the number of people at risk now, the vulnerable ones, be it residents in Ikorodu or Iketu or, the number, the resettlement area that can't accommodate even the entire, those vulnerable in Ikorodu, how much more? About 5, 6 cities?
For me, Samson, I don't like talking about impossibilities.
But it's not possible.
Listen. I like talking about difficulties.
Okay.
And when you're talking about difficulties, with our rationality, we'll be able to surmount difficulties.
Okay.
All right? But when we are talking about impossibility, you are foreclosing. You are totally foreclosing a solution. There is nothing that is new on the surface of this earth.
Okay.
There is no problem without a solution. If only there is that will. If only there is that will. And that's why Bob Marley said, wherever there is a will, there will always be a way. So let Lagos State, let Lagos State drop their gap of boisterousness and then join hands with NEMA.
Okay.
Join hands with NEMA to see how they can solve this. I can bet you, I can do this for Lagos State free of charge. If they call me, all I need to do is I will go there. Understand what is happening there. And between you and me, within 2 days, I give them a solution.
Okay, if the NEMA resettlement area can only accommodate about 2,500 people, for example, and you are saying maybe over 100,000 people from Ikorodu, K2, VI, Ikoyi, how can it be possible to accommodate them?
Let me tell you this.
We're talking about the present.
Wait now. Samson, wait now. When you're talking of space, are you saying there are no more spaces?
Within that, okay.
Even elsewhere, within that area, go to that, the one at Ikorodu, you still have enough spaces undeveloped there. Why don't you go there and then give them some makeshift? That's what we call makeshift.
Makeshift camps, quite all right.
You can call it make. I've not been there, but I'm just giving you.
Are those places not vulnerable to flooding as well?
If they are vulnerable to flooding, what are those people doing there? If those areas are vulnerable to flooding, those people that are there presently, why hasn't water carried them away?
All right, let's wrap this up.
Water will have carried them away. So, sorry, what I'm saying is there are still spaces whereby you can quickly prepare and then put makeshift accommodation for them.
Okay.
Your final thoughts, Dr. D, as we coast home.
You say what?
Your final thoughts on this issue.
My final thought is, listen, this time around, Lagos needs a breath of fresh air. And the only person that can get it, let them go and find out, it's nothing other than Jando. I'm telling you.
Well, this is not some political campaign.
Well, I'm not campaigning. I'm only telling you how to solve the problems that are happening.
Us for any campaign, so we wouldn't be allowing that. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll delve into another issue. Please stay with us.